Honda's Motocompo is one of the coolest mini bikes of all time. And today we are going to do a deeper dive into this bike, and we're also going to see how it compares to modern mini bikes by comparing it to Alex's Honda Monkey. We did a video on this bike right after we took possession of it, but in this video we want to take a deeper dive into everything that makes this Motocompo such a unique vehicle from its era.
This Motocompo was never sold here in the US, but even back in the day when this was brand new, this was the coolest mini bike you could have gotten pretty much anywhere. And by today's standards, I think Case and I both agree, this is the coolest modern mini bike you can get. And the funny thing is, the price of these in 2023 is pretty much exactly the same. Case and I paid a little over $3,700 for the Motocompo. I paid $3,900 for this Honda Monkey, so within about 150 bucks of each other, and they are very different.
Now, the Motocompo's main party trick is the fact that you can fold this bike up. And classic Honda, they made that actually really easy to do. So let's see how efficiently I can do this. What you have to do is you pull this panel off, then you can pop the seat down, and in order to fold down the bars, you just unscrew these two handles on the top. You can fold in the mirror. You do the same thing on this side, and actually I've found that it's easier to fold down this side first so that your Speedo can sandwich right on top there. Then you extend your cover right here, you slot it into the body up front, and this is the only kind of funky part. Sometimes it takes a little bit of messing around to get that cover in place. But just like that, you have a folded up bike. That takes just a matter of seconds. And the other great thing about this bike is that it's about 9.4 inches wide, and wet, fully fueled, and ready to go, it weighs 99 pounds. So if it wasn't kind of an awkward thing to pick up, I mean, pretty sure I could shoulder press this bike. It's really very easy to pick up and transport. While the classic Honda Monkey, like the 1971 Monkey that I have in my garage, can also fold up just a little bit, not as much as a Motocompo, the modern Honda Monkey, of course, cannot. These bars are fixed in place, and this is also a much bigger bike in general. It's a 125 and it weighs about 235 pounds, which is not impossible to pick up, but it's more than twice as heavy.
One of the coolest parts about this bike is all the labeling and just how quirky so many of the features are. So first of all, the side here, you have this really retro looking kind of 8-bit style Motocompo logo, which is super sweet. And everything is labeled on this bike. So like your foot pegs say step on them, obviously on and off. You have your handles, carrying point is labeled. And then on the top, some really cool Japanese labeling. I don't know what any of that says. It's probably some safety and helmet regulations and stuff like that. But just seeing this on the bike, if you know, you're at a motorcycle show or whatever, and someone walks up to it and they have no idea what this is, that screams that this is a Japanese import. So that's really cool. And then there's a few other things, like over here on this side case, it says warning, exhaust muffler. So obviously you don't want to touch that. It's just funny how they label things, even up, which is super funny because up would be that way. Not really sure what that's trying to show, maybe which way it was supposed to go into the car. And there's a wine glass on there for some reason. And then you've also got a few other things on the top, like parking lock. So over on this side, you've got this little cable lock, which is obviously super secure. Someone can't cut that with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, but I think Tommy's comment on this parking lock was that somebody, they're motivated enough, they could get through that with a dull pair of scissors.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got that, and then a helmet holder labeled on the other side, and I actually don't know what that's referring to. So if you have any ideas on what that helmet holder is, let us know.
My other favorite bit is right here on the back, where it almost looks like you would have a handle, but that is not a handle. That's why they label it untouchable. And actually, interestingly enough, they even put this texture here on the bottom of it to make it uncomfortable to put your hand on, just to tell you, don't lift from there. Between 1981 and 1983, they only made about 50,000 of these Honda Motocompos because this was actually a relatively expensive optional extra for the Honda City. And because this was catered toward an audience that was mostly driving, presumably, and wanted this as an accessory for their car, it's somewhat car-like in its design. Now, of course, you have handlebars as a motorcycle has to, but where it gets a little funky is in the bodywork, because this is not like your typical motorcycle. It's not like the Honda Monkey where you've got a visible frame and a visible engine. It has bodywork all the way around. And one of the most interesting parts of that is this rear taillight design that is integrated into this bodywork like it would be on a car. You have turn signals on the side that are part of the same piece as the rear brake light. And just in general, the completely rectangular shape of this motorcycle is like no other bike that we've ever seen.
Up front, we've got this funny little bar-mounted speedometer here, obviously in kilometers per hour, but it's got a cool design to it. It's got this kind of retro grid pattern in the background, and obviously there's not much to see there, the tiniest little needle in the world, but this is actually backlit, and you've got a little oil light. And one of the coolest parts about this bike, the turn signal. It's a little slow when the bike's not actually running, but what other bike or car makes it sound like that? That is so good. Now the Kickstarter is on the left side of the bike, which is a little odd, takes some getting used to. And obviously no electric start like the Monkey over there, but once you're on the bike, fires up super easily. And yes, we've had this running a little bit already today, but even when it's cold, max, it takes like 2 kicks to get going. It's been dead reliable. The only thing we've had to do is throw a speedo cable in it. And yeah, we actually didn't even have to do that. The original speedo cable wasn't seated properly, so we spent 30 bucks on a new one for no reason. Haven't tuned it for altitude. This came from California before it came out of Japan, and it's been running like a dream. Also, now that it's running, you can see the headlight up there. And what's really unique is you have the ability to cut the headlight on or off. You don't have a high beam and low beam, just an on and an off setting. And riding with no lights is not something you're supposed to do, so most motorcycles don't let you do that.
Powering the Motocompo is a 49cc air-cooled 2-stroke single-cylinder engine. 3 cubic inches, 2.5 horsepower, and 2.7 pound-feet of torque. So it's not very fast. This gets going around about 20 miles an hour, but even at about 20 miles an hour, you're going fast enough because, I mean, these tiny, tiny wheels, what are they? Let's see, they're 8-inch wheels. Yeah, you really don't want to go much faster than that on these size wheels. This bike is just not made to have a high top speed, so it goes plenty fast enough to be a little bit squirrely. The other thing that I absolutely love is look at the size of the pipe on the back of it. I don't think I've seen a smaller pipe. That's about the size of the pipe on like a weed eater. It's about as small as they get.
All right, if we pop under this cover here, you'll be able to see our fuel tank and our oil tank as well. It mixes for you, so you don't need to, deal with premix or anything and measuring out amounts. You just dump oil in here, dump fuel in here, and you're good to go. And that's been super easy. The fuel gauge is pretty cool actually, and it kind of moves if you rock the bike a little bit. But yeah, you got a little window there with some Japanese on it to show you exactly how much fuel you have. Filled it up with oil when we first got it. We haven't filled it since. We filled it up with fuel once, I think. Case rides this a lot more than I do. But yeah, it just sips fuel.
Also, deeper into the bike, you can see this tiny little carburetor. It's about as small as carburetors get. All right, let me release the parking brake here on the Motocompo and get it all fired up. Turn the fuel on. And it's easier to get this bike kick-started if you have the foot peg flipped up, because that foot peg kind of gets in the way a little bit of you kick-starting it. But now we've got the beast fired up, and we'll see how it does against Alex's Honda Monkey.
Mine's super easy. I just hit a little button and something cased. Oh, this bike's a little cold-blooded.
I saw that.
Very cold-blooded.
It's no harder to get this Motocompo from 1983 fired up than it is Alex's monkey.
Just warming up, but even Tommy's monkey, the red one, which has been on the channel a bunch, we've noticed also doesn't love to run when it's cold, and that one's bone stock. But once it's going, it's good to go. And something Case can't do on that Motocompo is a little bit of off-roading, which is one of the great parts about the monkey.
You know, there's not a ton of suspension travel, so riding over bumps, you definitely feel it. And yeah, at speed, it's a little squirrely, and it's also, it's just not that fast. I mean, full throttle. Even slightly downhill, that's about as fast as we get going. That's maxed out. So you can ride it on the road, like a 25-mile-per-hour road around town. You'll still kind of be slowing people down, but you can do it.
Brief overview of the monkey. This is the older 4-speed monkey. The new one's a 5-speed, about 125cc, single-cylinder, air-cooled, very similar to the Grom. And yeah, it's basically a retro-styled Grom. I love this bike. I think this bike has been in my garage now longer than any other bike I own, and I have no plans of getting rid of it.
Drag race up the hill?
Yeah, I was thinking the even bigger hill.
I mean, it's just gonna take even longer.
You want to give yourself a little bit of a chance?
I mean, I don't know how long people want to watch a Motocompo struggle for.
That's true. We'll go with the racetrack uphill. We got a sweeper to the right here. And obviously I'm going to win this race, but we're just trying to show the difference in speed here.
You want to count us off?
I'll just go sometime after you.
Okay. Are you going to actually use your gears?
Should I stay in first the whole time?
I bet you can still beat me in first.
I'll stay in first the whole time. Okay. And I'll give you a head start.
All right. I'm just going to go for it. Kicking off with my feet. Full throttle. Yeah, definitely the monkey is easily faster. And honestly, to the Motocompo's credit, it does most of its top speed even at a slight grade.
I can't abuse the bike like that. I'm gonna shift.
It's all right. I'm not embarrassed by it.
It's not made for performance.
No, that's not really what it was made for. But yeah, I mean, I'd say it's just fast enough to use in an area like where we live.
Yeah.
Where there's enough slow roads that, you know, you can ride it around and you're fine.
And we're at altitude.
Yeah.
We're in like one of the hardest conditions we could put this bike in. It's not tuned for altitude.
Imagine how much of a beast this bike would be at sea level.
Yeah. So yeah, this feels like a mini motorcycle to ride. That barely feels like a scooter. I mean, just riding behind Case, it's really twitchy sometimes. And, you know, like if you were trying to teach someone how to ride a motorcycle for the first time, I would never put them on that Motocompo. First of all, they're going to feel terrible if they drop it, because most people know how rare that is and how hard it would be to find new bodywork for that. And it's hard to control. It's so twitchy, and it doesn't ride like a normal motorcycle would. And this rides much closer to a full-size motorcycle. It rides exactly like a full-size motorcycle, just in a smaller form factor.
Now, if you're thinking to yourself, $3,750 is so much money to spend on a bike that you really can't take on most roads, that's fair. But for Alex and I, this is a piece of history that means a lot to us. This is, as silly as it sounds, one of our dream bikes. We adore this bike, and around our little neighborhood here in Lafayette, Colorado, it's the perfect thing to get around on. I can ride it over to my girlfriend's tattoo shop because that's right down the road. So it's proven to be a fantastic purchase for both of us. And between this and the Honda Monkey, it's a tough call. That's a much more practical bike. Also gets really good fuel economy, and it's something that you can ride on most roads. But if you're looking for a piece of history, something to add to your collection when you have other bikes that you can ride on the street. This has just been such a joy for both Alex and I. He puts this in the back of his little K-van to bring to car shows and to use as a pit bike at the track. And it's just an awesome motorcycle. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hopefully we get to do more videos with cool historically significant bikes like this, and we'll see you in the next video.